Would you like to make $100,000? Susan's desperate words cut through the busy coffee shop as she approached a complete stranger. Just hours earlier, she'd caught her fiancé cheating with her best friend in her wedding dress, 2 days before their ceremony. Now she was offering a fortune to the first man she met. But this wasn't about money. It was about freedom. Who was this stranger she was willing to marry? And why would a heartbroken woman risk everything on someone she'd never seen before? Susan Martinez thought she had her life perfectly planned. 2 years of dating Justin, a beautiful wedding venue booked, and parents who had invested their entire savings into what they called the event of the decade. But life has a way of destroying perfect plans in the most brutal ways possible. On what should have been a routine trip to pick up her wedding dress, Susan discovered the unthinkable. Her fiancé Justin was in their bedroom with Rebecca, her maid of honor, and Rebecca was wearing Susan's wedding dress. Your pants accidentally fell down, and my friend accidentally fell down on you as well? Susan's voice shook with disbelief and rage. Justin didn't even have the decency to look ashamed. Come on, Susan. In 2 days, I'll be your husband. This doesn't mean anything. The audacity was breathtaking. I will not marry a cheater, Susan declared. Seriously, your parents have invested a lot of money in our wedding, and you think we're just going to let you blow it all? Justin replied coldly. I will get married, Susan shot back, her voice gaining strength. But not with you, Justin laughed mockingly. Come on, how can you find a groom in 2 days? Susan's response surprised even herself. I will find him in 2 minutes. She stormed out, having no idea she was about to make good on that impossible promise. At the coffee shop across the street, Susan sat trembling with anger and heartbreak. That's when she noticed him. A man in his early 30s, sitting alone at a corner table, quietly working on what appeared to be business documents. He looked up when he felt her staring. Susan took a deep breath and walked over to his table with a desperation that made her bold. Are you married? She asked directly. The stranger looked surprised but answered honestly. Single and no children. Why? Would you like to make $100,000? Now she had his complete attention. Here's the deal, Susan continued, her heart pounding. Marry me today, and I will transfer the money to your bank account tonight. The man, who introduced himself as Ajit, stared at her in amazement. My name is Susan, and I just caught my fiancé cheating on me with my best friend. I'm supposed to get married in 2 days, but I'd rather marry a complete stranger than that lying cheater. Ajit studied her face carefully. There was something about her desperation, mixed with determination, that moved him. You're serious about this, he said. You really want to pay someone to marry you, just to avoid marrying that guy? I was ready to marry any stranger, just to avoid getting married to that jerk, Susan admitted. Before Ajit could respond, the coffee shop door burst open. Get your hands off my future wife, Justin shouted, having followed Susan. Susan had never seen this side of Ajit before, because she'd never seen any side of him before. But in that moment, he stood up to his full height and faced Justin with calm confidence. Stephen had never acted this way in the 2 years we've been together, Susan thought, watching in amazement as this stranger defended her honor when her own fiancé had destroyed it. All he can do is yell like that. It's better than being with a nasty cheater, Susan said aloud. You're so naive. You won't get away from me that easy, Justin threatened. But Ajit didn't back down. I think she already has. 20 minutes later, Susan and Ajit stood in City Hall with 2 plastic rings from a convenience store, officially becoming husband and wife. The ceremony was surreal, a desperate woman and a compassionate stranger making vows for reasons neither could have imagined that morning. I sincerely hope that the wedding with Justin will be canceled because of this, Susan said as they walked out as Mr. and Mrs. She realized she still didn't know his last name. But now we have to figure out what happens next, she added nervously. When they returned to Susan's apartment building, her parents were waiting with Justin, clearly planning an intervention. Susan, I understand that you're angry at your fiancé, but we don't have to do this, her mother began. You're a beautiful and smart and kind girl, and you don't need to throw your life away. No, you misunderstood me, Susan said firmly. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm already married. Her parents stared in shock. You married him? Her father asked, looking at Ajit with suspicion. I know this guy is dangerous, Justin interjected. He attacked me outside City Hall and tried to smash my face. I can do it again. Let's all calm down, Susan's mother said. Honey, I want to forgive you for this rash decision, but you need to cancel this marriage. Her father pulled out his checkbook. And we will compensate you for your time. He cheated on me, Susan said, her voice rising. And what makes you think Justin is better? You and Justin both missed the point. We are not canceling this marriage because we're not going to forget what happened. The invitations were sent, the guests are coming, everything is arranged and paid for, her mother argued. What does money have to do with my feelings? Susan demanded. We are thinking about your future, her father replied coldly. And listen, if you don't go through with marrying Justin just because we spent money on the wedding, then from now on all your credit cards and bank accounts will be blocked. Do you understand? So if you leave this house now, you won't be able to pay for a cup of coffee. Susan felt the world spinning. Her own parents were choosing money over her happiness, reputation over her well-being. She looked at Ajit, this stranger who had shown her more respect in a few hours than her family had in years. I don't know what to do, she whispered. I couldn't stay here, but what would I live on if I left? After all, I promised to pay you for marrying me. She doesn't have to worry about money, Ajit said quietly. I can take care of my wife. And with those words, Susan chose the unknown over the unworthy. As they left together, Susan realized she'd never been more terrified or more hopeful. I don't even know where we're going to spend the night, she admitted. That's not a problem at all, Ajit said, leading her toward a truck loaded with wooden crates. Look at all these peaches we've got. We unload them and we'll have enough money for a hotel and even breakfast. Susan stared at the crates. You want me to help you sell fruit? I'm just kidding, Ajit laughed. I'm not going to let my wife carry heavy crates. I'll do it myself. You just sit down and relax. As Susan sat among the peach crates watching Ajit work, she couldn't take her eyes off him. He was kind, cheerful, and surprisingly handsome. Look at this, he said, holding up a perfect peach. It's so rare to find a peach with such even color and perfect shape. It's blessed with sunshine. It's unique like you are. So are you, Susan replied, feeling something she hadn't felt in years, genuine appreciation. But their peaceful moment was shattered when Ajit suddenly looked concerned. I'm so sorry, you have to leave right now, he said urgently. What? I have to leave. Where do I have to go? It's really necessary, but I'll be back in several hours. And then he was gone, leaving Susan alone with questions and fears. Hours passed. Ajit never showed up. Susan knew he had disappeared for a reason, and she felt abandoned again. That's when she heard a familiar voice. Look who's still waiting. What are you doing here? Is he going to put a box on the ground for you to sleep in? Justin had found her. Even if he does, it's none of your business, Susan replied, though doubt was creeping in. How long have you been waiting for him? He's probably already taking out loans in your name. You know we are meant to be together. Only with me can you be sure that you won't end up on the street surrounded by fruit crates. Susan's resolve wavered. Maybe she had been naive. Maybe this stranger had taken advantage of her desperation. He's not coming back, Justin continued. Come on, let's go home. Just as Susan began to doubt everything, she heard a car door slam. Get your hands off my wife. Ajit had returned, but he looked different, more confident, more successful than the man she'd met that morning. I thought you ran away, Susan said, relief flooding her voice. I couldn't find the right one, Ajit replied, holding up a small velvet box. My wife has to have the most beautiful ring. Inside was a stunning diamond that took Susan's breath away. Where did you get that? He stole it, Justin accused. Where else would a guy loading crates get money for diamonds? Ajit laughed. I'm not a loader. It's time for you to look around. I wasn't loading crates for money. I was loading produce for my restaurant. I happen to own these beautiful peaches, and I couldn't go past them. I like to surprise my guests with the most delicious desserts. Susan stared at him in amazement. Her desperate gamble had led her to someone extraordinary. I will take care of you, no matter what you decide, Ajit said, slipping the ring onto her finger. At that moment, Susan realized that only true love can give you strength and freedom. 6 months later, Susan and Ajit renewed their vows in a ceremony attended by friends who had become family. Her parents, who had initially cut her off financially, stood in the front row with tears in their eyes, finally understanding that their daughter had found something more valuable than their planned wedding. She had found genuine love. "I offered a stranger money to marry me," Susan said in her vows, "but I found someone who would have married me for free." Their story became legendary. The woman who was brave enough to gamble everything on a stranger rather than settle for someone who betrayed her trust. Because sometimes the person you're meant to be with isn't the one you've known the longest. Sometimes it's the one who shows up when you need them most. What's the biggest risk you've ever taken to escape a bad situation? Share your story in the comments below. Someone might need the courage to take their own leap of faith. Subscribe for more stories about people who chose the unknown over the unworthy. Because the best love stories aren't about perfect planning, they're about perfect timing.